All right, Devin. So thanks for coming on a Monday morning. Hope I didn't get you up
Yeah.
early. You're an entrepreneur, so you should be able to sleep in on Mondays. But maybe that's the opposite, right? We should be up early and going. I don't know if I subscribe to that, like starting at 7 a.m. type of stuff.
I
You
don't
know,
know. I've been up for a while already today. I feel like I
have
do
you?
start my days pretty early. Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, I appreciate coming on my podcast. You had me on your podcast and on Podmax and all that great stuff. So I got to ask you the big question that's like looming in the room, right? How many people pronounce your first name correctly?
Nobody. That's
No.
why our company's name is Just Divine because my name is Devin and nobody pronounces it correctly. So
Right.
we kind of played a little bit off of that just because
Is that what they
no one
say?
ever.
They say divine all the time.
Divine, Divinny, I get everything that you could possibly imagine. I kind of just answer it to it. And it kind of makes me happy because if somebody pronounces it wrong and they like pretend like they know me, I'm like, you actually don't know me,
Right.
but go
It's
ahead,
your
keep going.
giveaway.
Like pretend like you do. Yeah. So it
Exactly.
works
That's
to my
very funny.
benefit. I don't mind it.
That's very funny. Yeah. So, well, you can thank your parents for that, I guess, right?
Yeah, they added some extra letters and it made it confusing for everyone.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. My kids are Camden, Layton, and Aylin. The Layton we spell like the boys' way, double L
Okay.
E Y. And
Yep.
my daughter Aylin, Aylinn, they pronounce it Aileen, Allen, all different ways.
Yep.
It drives her crazy.
It's hard too when it's like because Devin could be a boy's or a girl's name.
Yeah. Right.
And so I feel like usually if it, well, stereotypically, if it's like a boy's name, it's spelled one way. If it's a girl's name, it's spelled a different way. And I'm just in the middle of all of them. So they don't know if I'm a girl or a boy or how to pronounce my name.
I don't think you're the only girl Devin I've ever met. How do they spell it normally for girls?
Devin, I've seen Devyn,
Okay.
um, is more of like a,
Like Dylan type of a
yeah,
thing.
kind of,
Yeah.
yeah,
Got
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Got it. All right. All right. And we're talking about real estate, right? You and your fiance are big in the real estate business and
Yeah,
flips and properties, investments, all that type of stuff.
absolutely.
All
Love
right.
it.
So tell me where you're from originally and how you grew up on the streets of New Jersey, that type of stuff.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Thank you. Thank you again for having me.
No, looking,
I am
appreciate it.
excited. I am born and raised in New Jersey. So, born in Hunterdon County. Yes, born in Hunterdon County. I tried like a little bit to move out, tried to go to school in Pennsylvania. Then I moved down to Florida. I only
Oh,
lasted like a
okay.
few months. It didn't go well. So
Didn't
I
fit well
came.
for you?
Exactly, exactly. So I came back to where I am from, and I ended up graduating from Rutgers University in New Brunswick.
Very good.
And then I started school, or I started working full time in Manhattan as an event planner. It was always my dream to work as an event planner. I thought I was going to do like sports or weddings. I ended up in the financial industry in Lower
So in
Manhattan.
corporate, planning events for
Exactly,
that's got to be
exactly.
dead right now, but yeah.
Yeah, it's still busy because a lot of it's virtual
So
now,
they're doing
but it's
virtual
just like in
planning
a
of
different.
events. Yeah.
Exactly, it's just in a different kind of aspect. But I was there for over 7 years. It was always my dream to work in Manhattan, always my dream to live in the city, always my dream to, live that life that I thought I really wanted until I was there, and then I realized I didn't want it. That wasn't what I was wanted, that wasn't who I was, and so, life hit me and my fiancé sideways, and it kinda took us back to figure out a time when, like, what do we really want in life and where do we wanna be and what are our goals, and stop doing what you're used to doing because it's not working. So let's get to a better place. And so that kind of brought us into real estate. And so we kind of found it in a weird way. We were, trying to house hack and trying to get into it in a different way. The numbers weren't making sense to us. We realized we needed to invest, in education and really dive into it. And then from there, we started justifying properties, and it's been going strong for a few years now. And so we're super excited of where it's brought us so far and where it's going. And
And when
yeah,
did you make that transition from the city to real
yeah,
estate?
I think it was like a gradual thing, if I'm being honest. So it's been about 3.5 years where, or I would say even almost 4 years, where we decided that this isn't for us anymore. And where we
Being in
were
the
was
city, you mean?
correct. Being in the
Okay.
city, working in hospitality, um, it sounds really glamorous. It sounds amazing. You're around, great things that people think is what you work for.
Right.
Um, and it gets, I don't know, it just gets to you after a while. It just gets like, I didn't like being at the events anymore. I didn't like going and socializing or networking with that like group. Like it
Right.
just didn't, I wasn't happy. So life hit us sideways. And then that was about, yeah, for 3.5 years. And then from there, we started trying to understand real estate. And then we officially started our company. It's been about 2.5 years now.
Okay. So what, because I remember I had a friend who was in event planning like before 9/11,
Yep.
and there was a lot of money to throw around. I mean, she used to invite us to these events that were, she used to do stuff for, I don't remember, Bloomberg, Goldman, all the big companies, and
Yep.
the ridiculous amounts of money. My sister actually worked for Goldman. So, I mean, for Bloomberg. So we would go to that big holiday party they used to have. I think she used to spend $750,000 on the holiday party just 20 years ago.
Yep.
And after 9/11, they obviously turned the whole, like, maybe we shouldn't spend $1 million on us. Maybe we should spend $1 million on like good works and things like that. So they changed that. But she's now moved up. But I remember the whole thing was just crazy with regard to the money that was being pushed around. But what got you like, I mean, I understand you were unhappy, you weren't happy in the circles you were in. And that's good because a lot of people just stay unhappy, right?
Mhm.
Although the pandemic's probably pushed them now to make those
Yeah.
decisions. But what made you like be attracted to real estate? I mean, guys could have done a lot of stuff, right? You could have just looked for another job and different, I don't know, made a transition. What got you to real estate?
Yeah, so to touch on your part about budgets too, I think it's so interesting because now when I'm doing like $1 million projects for real estate, I always say I'm like I've managed millions of dollars of
Of
projects and
course.
big budgets that have been 6 months to a year to longer than that. And so to your point, yes, they have very nice budgets and I'm used to managing those.
Well, there's a
So
lot of moving parts too with those events. There's tons of stuff.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And so when it comes to real estate, I do feel like, especially being on like the investor side and everything that like I kind of do, I do feel like I take a lot of the skills that I've learned from event planning and I'm able to utilize it in real estate as well. So it does still work hand in hand. It's just in a different industry, I feel like.
Okay.
Um, but to your question, why real estate? I guess so. When I grew up, my parents had a few rental properties in Bernardsville,
Okay.
and those properties actually paid for my college and my brother's college. And so I saw like what it could do for people and how it could help, and it was there and like my parents managed it themselves and could it have been done in a couple different ways that probably could have gotten their hands freed a little bit more? Yes, but at the same time, they really, they benefited from it a lot. They had 3 apartments. It paid for our college, and then,
Nice.
it had like a my parents had like a savings then for like when I got married or when my brother got married or if something were to happen or like there that money was there because of real estate. And so when I was kind of seeing like the bigger goals like in life and what I wanted, like real estate just seemed like it made sense. And yeah, I mean, does everyone grow up watching like all the HGTV
No, but
shows?
I did too, but my parents weren't in real estate at all. I didn't have any
Yeah.
experience with it. So you had experience with it.
Yeah, yeah. So I had a little bit of experience of it, and then I just honestly, I really liked it. I liked watching the shows. I liked watching like what it was. I loved like I was always that person, like not to sound creepy, but like you're driving and I'm like looking at like in people's houses, like what does it look like? It's just so pretty. And it wasn't like I was trying to like creep on people. It was more so like I
You
was
weren't like
so
getting
intrigued.
out of the car and looking in the
Yeah,
window,
yeah. I'm like that
right.
person. Like, yeah, if you
The
see me,
stalker.
I'm kidding. Never. But
Right.
I was more interested in, in what like architecture was in houses and what like the designs looked like. And my mom is a very creative person. And so I grew up with her always like decorating different things and doing things that like weren't normal per se. So like um the design always intrigued me. And so,
Well, you're
when
doing
I
construction now? Are you building stuff?
yeah, so we're doing
Oh,
like
okay.
we're doing kind of a
Like
wide.
renovations and stuff?
Yeah, so we kind of focus to do 1 to 2 larger flips a year, and that is more so bringing it down to the foundation, either doing a new build or building on existing foundation, doing big additions. So we try to do that. And then on the other side of it, we also try to do 3 to 5 smaller projects a year. And so those are more cosmetic. So going, not really changing the foundation, but maybe like opening a wall, closing a wall, and then obviously updating all of the fixtures and appliances and floors inside. So we do focus like a little bit on both ends. So it gives us a good, chance to be able to use our creative minds and really change the layout and change the look of things. And it's so fun to see, even if like, I always say like, even if you paint the walls, like it's gonna look different. So
Sure. Just
it's
freshen it
more
up.
so, yeah, exactly. So it's fun to kind of go in there and then also pick everything that goes into the house.
Right. On the design side.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's go back a little bit because this is an entrepreneur's podcast, right? So
Yes.
it's all about business owners and business and the mistakes people made. So you're in corporate, right? You don't really have a business background, but you certainly have a planning background, which helps. Probably
Yeah.
that's better. And did you guys sit down and were your fiance's name is Justin, right? Just
Correct.
Divine?
Yes.
Got it.
Justin.
Okay.
Yep.
So did you guys sit down and say, okay, well, we're not going to do this. We hate what we're doing. Did you write a business plan? What kind of plans did you make? How did you strategically say, okay, we're gonna do, or did you just like woohoo wing it?
So Justin and I complement each other well in this because I am that person that writes down the business plan. I'm the one that has all the contracts together. I'm the one that has everything that you could possibly need all together in one place. And it's all like neatly in folders and everything's labeled. Like that is me. And
That's good.
so Justin is more he's the one that kind of pushes me because I'm more so focused on the smaller parts in that role. And so he pushes me to kind of keep going and to get more properties and to expand and how to do it. And so we work well together in that aspect. Sometimes butt heads, but overall it works well. But yeah, what did we do? I will say we actually invested in our education because there's so much we didn't know about real estate. And we found like a company that we felt comfortable with. And our friends actually had been a part of it. And so it was more so just like learning and diving into like the bigger pockets, diving into whatever that we could learn. I
What
was
did they
on.
have, like courses and seminars and things like that?
Yeah, exactly,
Okay.
exactly. And then honestly, just finding people that you knew, trusted, and webinars, master classes, anything that they put out. Like I was like a sponge to that, like taking in everything. I would, if I would find somebody that I really liked, I'd be like, I'll help you. Like you don't have to pay me. Can I just help you? Can you teach me? Like, can I
Right.
just shadow you?
Yeah.
And it was more so like we went to like all these different meetup groups. I've been to like every meetup I think that was on meetup.com
There's a
at one.
lot of real estate meetup
There
groups. Yeah.
there is, and I mean, it was good because, like, you meet people, and it's funny now being in it for a few years, we've now it almost has, like, come full circle, like, we actually met somebody that lived in our apartment building even years, like, while real estate was still an idea, and somehow or another, someone wanted to connect us this past week, and we got on a call, and we were like, "We know you,"
This
and
is
we're
when you were in the city in your
yeah,
other career and
yeah,
you guys were
exactly,
living in the
and
same
we're like,
building.
"Why do
That's
we
funny.
know you?" And so then we're like, "Oh my god, it's so funny." It really does, comes full circle, and so it more was like, who are you talking to? How are you getting yourself out there? How are you putting yourself in uncomfortable situations that you're gonna benefit from and learn from? Because that's really how you grow, especially as an entrepreneur, because it's not like there is, like, a plan of how to be an entrepreneur. It's not
No,
like
that's the
you
problem.
yeah, this is chapter 1, like, this is chapter 2,
Yeah.
like, it doesn't work like that, and so I think,
There are fundamentals, things you should do, but
we
they're all over the place. You got to kind of figure it out for yourself. If you meet the right people, find the right mentors, like you did
exactly.
in real estate, kind of got you on the right path. If you don't, good luck to you. You know,
Exactly, exactly.
that's
So,
the problem.
yeah, we got a coach, who's now, like, a good friend of ours too, and she helped us a ton in the beginning, especially.
Did she know
Uh,
real estate or was she just a
yes,
business
yes.
coach? Okay,
Yep,
good.
nope, she was, in real estate, she was an investor as well, she was on HGTV, she, had been super successful in real estate and kind of was going into the coaching program now, as well, and so it worked out really well because we learned a ton from her, and she's a good
Sure.
friend of ours now, and, yeah, we've both been able to introduce each other to other people in the business. So it's been mutually beneficial.
So how do you remember the first project you did?
Yeah,
And
it's
and how
terrifying.
many did you have to look at before you like pulled the trigger on the first one? Do you remember? It had to be a lot, I would guess, right?
I will say we looked at a lot, and I think that's when we decided we needed to really invest our time and our money into education, because we were looking at a lot and the numbers weren't making sense to us. Like, it didn't
I see. So
it
you
didn't make
started
sense.
right out looking at properties and you like didn't have the background in education yet.
Yes.
And you're like,
And
I yeah.
so, yeah, yeah, it just the numbers didn't make sense, and we're like, "How does this work? Like, we're missing something, like, something's not getting put together well." So, we ended up, our first property, actually, we knocked it down to the foundation and built, a 2,400 or 2,800 square foot house.
Your first
So
project was a construction
yeah,
project?
yeah.
Wow. I don't know
So,
if people
is
would
it
recommend you do that.
I was gonna say, is it what I would recommend to people? I don't know. I will say that it actually benefited us a lot because
Oh yeah, you learned a
we
ton.
learned a
Yeah.
ton in the first project.
Yeah.
Um, we had to fire contractors. We had to, like, everything that you could possibly imagine that has to do in a project, we
Right.
probably went through. So, looking back at it, I'm really grateful that we did that. We did learn a ton. It was really stressful. It was really hard, but it was really fun. And we learned so much that I wouldn't change it for anything.
But you wouldn't recommend to people getting started, like go out, tear a house down and put up a 2,800 square foot house. That's a big house, by the way.
It is a big house. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm on the fence of it, because one part is like, if you're gonna do it, dive all in. The other part is you should probably kind of ease into
Well, I mean,
it.
there's so many moving parts. There's so many chances for mistakes, for people to take advantage of you, for you to, I mean, you're very organized and that helps a lot because I
Yeah.
work on projects all the time for clients. And I'm like, listen, if you're dealing with contractors, subcontractors, if
Yep.
they don't give it to you in writing, send them an email and put it in a book. Keep a binder that says that. And they go, no, we didn't agree to that. Oh, yeah. Remember this email I sent you on October 28th and last year? And so it's at least gives you some more control, but it's definitely a lot of, I think we talked about this on the other podcast, like people don't know what mechanics liens are and lien waivers.
Yep.
Sometimes you learn that the hard way and you go to close and you realize there's 4 liens on the property. You're like, what? And you find out that the contractor didn't pay the electrician, the plumber they brought in or something like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, we honestly, I will say, from my event planning days, like, it was so strictly, especially because we were a financial firm. We, worked in Manhattan. Like, we were always like, I learned a lot about contracting and about negotiations and about what clauses need to be in contracts and making sure everything's in writing. And so I think it drives everyone a little crazy, but at the same time, it really has saved us in so many different ways.
Of
So
course.
it's necessary. And so I'm not going to stop it just because I'm now friendly with our contractor. No, it's going to be in writing and you're going to sign it.
Yeah.
Or we're going to find somebody else
And
that
if
feels
he's your
comfortable
friend,
with
there's
it.
no reason why he shouldn't sign it.
Exactly. Exactly. And
What, you don't
all
trust me? No, I people don't remember things properly. You'll remember, I'll remember, both mean well. Gotta have it in writing.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, what's that game when it's like telephone, when somebody tells you
Right.
something, it
And
comes
at
out
the
different
end, it's
each time.
totally not even close.
Exactly. And I'm
Yeah.
like, not for nothing. Like, I don't have the best memory. Like, I'd rather it down in writing too, so I can look back at it
Yeah.
and
You
say,
want the pressure of
I
remembering every conversation you had with every contractor and builder and
yeah,
sub that you deal with? Come on. That's a
yeah.
ridiculous
It
way to
depends on
live.
the day. Like,
Right.
did you catch me at a good time, or did you catch me at like a time when like my head's like spinning? Like, I
Right.
don't know what I said.
Yeah, I
So
think unfortunately some of the unscrupulous contractors who deal with like homeowners and things like that, and that's why there's a lot of these laws on the books.
yeah,
um, they take advantage of this stuff. The fact that it's all loosey goosey, the fact that they know the homeowner won't really remember and they can squeeze a little bit out here, squeeze a little bit out there. But if you have everything in writing and your books are good and your records are good and
yep,
you get lien waivers when they pay subs and things like that, you won't have any issues. There won't be any arguments or they won't have a choice. I mean, whether they disagree with you or not, you'll have it in writing, be like, look, you signed it this day. This is what we agreed to. I don't remember
exactly.
it that way. Well, obviously that's what it is because you signed it and so did I.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
think, people look, I think in your business, if you take the real estate business in the under $500,000 project world, there's a lot of like small builders who talk to their buddy who introduces them to a friend and says, hey, we're building up this house. It's 200,000. I have the house. You put up the 200,000 for the materials and then we'll split the profits. And that's like it. There's nothing in writing. The guy putting up the money can't keep track of what the builder really spent because he's giving him little slips and stuff. There's no accounting, no numbers, and it leads to just disaster
It
because
does.
it's very easy to say, oh, well, these are our expenses were 150, really 100, but they took another 50. I had a deal I was brought in on where they go to close and the investor finds that there's a lien against the property for like another 50,000. And the builder says, well, I had to borrow money from a friend of mine for some more materials, so we got to pay him. But my guy didn't know if that was true or not. Maybe he said to his friend, listen, let's put a $50,000 lien on the property. We'll split it. It takes money out of my guy. And it was a
Ridiculous.
mess. Yeah. It was a
It is,
mess.
it's true, and that's why, I mean, it's I mean, obviously, but, like, for me, I always say, I'm like, "Just sign the paper," like, or we'll find somebody that is comfortable with it, and, I'm very grateful for the team that we have surrounding us now, and they're all very, knock on wood, very trustworthy, and, we're honestly, like, friends with a lot of them now, and nobody has a problem with signing any contracts. They laugh at me because I'm the one that comes with, like, a folder, and I'm like, "I have the paperwork," and they're like, "Yep, here she is. She's
Right,
gonna
but
make."
that's good. They have that expectation, like, "Here comes Devin," but that's
Yeah.
good. I think there's a lot of situations where people are just like, they're afraid to, like, bring it up. Well, good luck telling a judge, "Well, I mean, I just
Yeah,
wasn't comfortable asking them to sign that." Well, okay, what do you want
exactly.
me to do with that?
Exactly.
Yeah,
So I mean, we fired contractors, we've fired different subs, we've fired people. And, to your point, like we have a lien waiver that's signed after each draw too, to say like, these people were paid for this amount. We're giving you this money and this money has been paid.
right.
So we do sign a lien waiver after each time that we pay. And
Just for people listening, what a lien waiver is, so I'm a lawyer, is
yes,
basically you're getting the sub to sign or the contractor, whoever did the work, to sign a piece of paper that said they did the work and they were paid. So they can't go out and then mysteriously put a lien on your property. And if they did, the laws are very onerous on them for doing it fraudulently. So you get those things when you're doing a project, even if you're the homeowner, you make sure your contractor gets lien waivers so you don't have those problems later on. Yeah.
exactly.
Because then what are
Exactly.
they going to say? You didn't pay me? Yes, I did. Here's the paper to prove it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That and before so we have a contract, but then we also collect all tax forms. So we collect the W-9 so that when I'm gonna 1099 you later, I have all that information. I don't have to chase you or you
Right.
don't have like I don't have to then you not answer me for months because like what I'm doing. Like no, give it to me up front. And if you don't want to, I mean, you're a business owner too. So if you're not going to file taxes on the work that you're doing, I'm not paying your taxes. And so it's more having all that information up front. And for us, like we do hire a general contractor. We actually work with two different general contractors and we love them. They've been really great to us. And we do sub out some of our own stuff as well, just
Okay.
because, we have some subs that we really like to work with and they're not like our GC's typical subs that they work with, but they work well together, but that's just more on us. And if we want to sub them out and we want to pay them and we want to do all that paperwork for it, it might be because like there's a better price, it's a good relationship,
Right.
or like there could be a million different reasons. But we do sub out some of our stuff on our
Right.
own.
But your GC doesn't deal in cash to these guys. I've been
No.
involved in some deals where there's cash going all over the place. And then the guy says, I wasn't paid. And they get good luck proving it.
Yeah, no,
You know,
it's all a money trail. You can see everything. It's all we do a lot of
like
it
a
by
real
check.
business almost.
Yeah. We do, as much as I don't love checks, we do a lot by checks just because it's easier to trace, I feel like, and I could track it, and then when I'm doing, like, the bookkeeping, if I don't have anything written down in my bank account, I could pull up what the check is. Um, so we do that, we, some other, like yeah, but most of it is not done unless we're buying materials, a lot of it's not done by card just because that could get messy too.
Credit card?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, like,
Well,
materials and stuff, like, we'll buy sometimes buy cards just to, for our business credit, but other than that,
right. But you still want to keep it on the business and you want to see that it
exactly,
was Home Depot or whatever they're
exactly,
buying the
exactly,
materials.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, it's funny. I think a lot of people who went into real estate, they had like one experience, which they didn't do well to begin with. And they're like, oh, it's terrible. I lost my shirt. I was plumbing out toilets in the middle of the night and the builder took advantage. But they don't spend the time. I think you guys spent the time learning
Yeah.
about the business and about real estate itself. I think there's a lot to be said for people that kind of dabble, let's use that word, right? And
Yeah.
their whole experience is it's terrible. Like, well, what did you own? Well, we had this one family house or two family house and it was just a nightmare. I'm like, that's your whole experience in real estate? Did you take a course? Did you buy other property? No, I'm out.
Yeah.
So it's not for them.
I mean, there's a lot to learn about real estate. There is a lot of risk, but the risk also is backed. It's backed by real estate. So
Yeah,
it's not like you're going into it and, you're not you're not like creating something from scratch that like nobody knows of and you're like invest in my
right.
invention. It's
Exactly.
not like that. It's like you're backed by real estate. So we do work with different lenders and like the lenders always, they know like there's an asset at stake. So they're more open to wanting to lend or wanting to partner with us or, so it is like it's a business that is beneficial, I feel like, to all parties. And it's something that, to your point, there is a lot to learn about it. It's not just like, okay, let's buy a house and renovate it. There's
Right.
like, with that statement right there, I can easily put together like 1,000 questions. And like,
Of
I'm like
course.
the queen of questions. And so, like, making sure that there's so much like at stake and so much, and time is money too. And so it's more so like having everything in line, knowing when certain things are happening. And then if it doesn't happen, okay, why didn't it happen at that time? We understand construction changes and things change, but at the same time, you know, we have to keep going. So what's next? And like, how do we get there?
Right.
Um, so it's definitely, yeah, it's a, it's a fun industry for me. I love it.
Now, do you have properties that you rent out that you've bought, renovated, and kept, or you mostly buy and sell, or
Yeah, yeah. So we actually have our first property that we're doing the Burr um on, and actually we're closing the end of this month, and so we're buying it, renovating it, and renting it. We'll
that was
refinance
your
it and
first
sell
rental?
it later.
Oh.
Yeah, so we're closing later this month. That's our first one that we're going to keep for a rental, and either do like a long-term rental or Airbnb. We're kind of going back and forth right now, but
So,
both
what
are.
made this one more of a rental than the other ones that you didn't keep, or just you're just in a different mode or something?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I want to keep every property because, like, at the end of it, I'm like, this one's great. This is my favorite. And then the next one comes, I'm like, this one's amazing. But no, I mean, this one is more, it's actually close to where we live.
Okay.
It's on a river. So it's more of, my fiance is big into fishing. And so it's on the river. There's all these different fishing groups around here. People come out here to fish all the time. And so it's more of, we're going to keep it as a rental and tap into those fishing markets and fishing clubs and see kind of who we can get there. I think long term, um, it might be a property that maybe we live in for a little bit as well.
Oh,
I
okay.
have no idea. But it's a property that we got it for $100,000 less than what it was listed for.
Oh,
And it just made sense.
yeah,
And yeah,
absolutely.
why not?
Right.
So it backs up into the Columbia Trail, which is a trail by us that is just a beautiful trail that goes between different in the county, and it's just a really cool. It's like a cabin in the woods on a river. It's just really pretty. So if
So,
we
is this
can,
like somebody rents to go fishing for the weekend, or somebody's
yeah,
gonna?
it's a great. So we actually own. So it's on the street, and on the other side of the street is the river. So we actually own part of the river with the house as well. So you have
Oh,
like a secluded area on the river that you can really put chairs and kind of make it your own too. Um, and so it's a really cool property. And so yes, you can fish for the weekend. It's like a nice little cabin to get away and have like a peace of mind, especially like if you're in city life and want to get away. It's by all of like the orchards that people come out for um So it's it's in a great location and we're super excited for it. So we're kind of trying to figure out like, do we furnish it and do an Airbnb right now, or do we get a long-term, short-term rental in there for now, or do we really partner up with different fishing clubs and see how we can kind of mutually benefit from that as well. But that will
Creative.
be our first rental, which isn't, I guess, your typical rental, but it was just
Right.
like saw it, we got it for a great price. We're super excited.
Yeah, it's not like a two-family house. You sign a 2-year lease and you got the
Exactly, exactly. So,
yeah.
it's a 4-bedroom, 1.5 bath, and it's just like it's super cute. It's a great property. There's a lot of land there, and yeah, it's exciting. So that will be our first rental that we're closing later this month.
And you're all
Um,
out in Hunterdon County? That's all your properties are out there? The properties that you bought, or
no,
is it all over
actually,
the
this
place?
is the first one that's in Hunterdon County. So we focus mainly on Morris and Union counties.
Okay.
And so we have one property in Chatham, New Jersey right now that will be finished, I believe, early December, we're
Okay.
aiming
Oh,
for.
soon. Okay.
Yeah, so soon. Yep. And then we have one in
Is that on the market already?
it's coming soon
You're waiting. Okay.
shortly. Yeah. So we're actually we have all our inspections this week. And so then once we do inspections, landscaping is happening this week too. And then once the walls are all closed out, we'll probably put a coming soon sign out just to start getting some traction for it.
Yeah,
So
so it looks
if
nice
anyone knows,
outside.
it's all on suite. We're super excited. If anyone has someone in the market for a 4-bedroom, 4.5 bath. So we're really
Okay.
excited for that
All right,
one.
let me
Yeah.
know. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So that one is coming soon, which is amazing. It's a beautiful property. And then we have one in Union as well. So Union Township, that one actually will be done by Thanksgiving also. And then we are purchasing another one closing early December in Union also. And
To renovate, to redo.
to renovate. Yep, yep,
Okay.
exactly. That one we got off market, and we actually might prehab it and sell it to an investor or rehab it. Two different exit strategies right now for it. And then I guess our fifth project is back in Hunterdon County. A homeowner actually hired us, and we are renovating their whole first floor for them. So I'm doing all the design work, picking all the fixtures for them, and then we're bringing in
Oh,
our contractors to do the work. So it's been really cool that we've actually had a lot of homeowners reach out to us to see if we would do the design for them and bring in our crews and work with them. So we've had people reach out to us saying, if I buy a property, will you build the house for me? Or if I, they'll be like, I really like the look of like the houses that you, or the layouts that you've done or the looks that you've done. Can we work with you? So we have a bunch in the works there, which is super exciting and something I didn't really see
right.
for our
So
business
that's
in the
just a
beginning.
contractor job. You're not taking, not owning the property.
Yeah, so we don't own the property. We're kind of like the middleman in a way. So they hire us and we hire our contractor. And I do all of the design, I'll work with the architects, I'll pick all the fixtures still. Like I'm still big on like, and I don't think I'll ever give that up. Like I pick everything from like the toilet paper holder to the knobs that go on the kitchen to, I do
Right.
design the whole thing and pick all of the fixtures that go into the house. So they hired us to essentially do all of that. And then we bring in our contractors and we contract out the contractors um,
So
to do
you're
the
the home improvement contractor then. You're the one licensed through the Division of Consumer Affairs?
work. So we're the ones that we're like the designer, really, essentially.
Okay.
So we're not doing like the contracting work.
Right.
Our
You're
contractors are
hiring
doing.
them to do the carpentry work and the drywall but
So
you're
they're
basically
hiring
the
us
GC,
essentially as
right?
the designer.
You're the designer, they're the GC?
Correct.
Okay. So it's like a design build type of contract.
Exactly, exactly. So it's not a branch of the business that honestly that we saw for ourselves in the beginning or that we wanted to get into, but once it kind of presented itself, we're like, yes, this is amazing. This is exactly like what I love to do. And so it's an honor that homeowners think of us and want to work with us.
So how did they find you? How did that happen?
It's a really weird story. So there's this beautiful house. And I say beautiful, it's vacant. It's run down really in bad shape, but I can see the potential for it. And so Justin, my fiance, had been it's on a river also. and he had been like looking at this house for like over a year. We've tried to find the homeowners of it. We've mailed to like the people
Oh, it's like an
who
abandoned property,
it's
basically.
oh, it's abandoned. It's in such bad shape. I think it's beautiful because you could see the
Right.
potential of it. Um, but it like we've tried to mail to the taxpayers. We've tried to mail to the town. We've called the
Nothing.
town who owns it. We can't find anyone. Lo and behold, he literally would go to that house all the time because he'd be fishing on the river. He met the people across the street and now became friends with them. And so we're actually good friends with their family. And it's been over a year now. They actually just went on a fishing trip together this
Okay.
past weekend. So it's like it's a small world. We ended up finding the owners, and it is an investor who's been carrying it. I think they're renovating it themselves, but there hasn't been any action on it for over a year. So I'm not too sure what's really going on with it. But we did try to buy it. But anyway, that's how we met this family. And so then they started watching our work and finding our work out. And they were funny because they were like our eyes and ears too, because like a sign then went out of that door. There was activity, and he's like, "Hey, go over the property. Like I
Right.
see someone." like,
Yeah.
so it's a small world. But yeah, so they ended up hiring us now to do the whole first floor and the exterior of their house. And so I am yeah, picking all of the finishes and designing and meeting with architects to make it what they want.
It's funny. Real estate's fun like that. There was a project I was working on. It was a camp upstate in out in Pennsylvania, like
Mhm.
near I forget, like over the Delaware Water Gap and
Okay.
like Route 80, that type of area.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
And we were looking to buy it. It was a group of us. We never bought it, but I was looking for a camp at the time, like a summer camp, I
Yeah.
forget how I even found this property, but we used to look online. There's nothing you can find. You got to go through brokers. Camps are either very expensive because they're operating, or they're run down and they just dump and they need a ton of money.
Yep.
So I forget, I found some post from several years ago for this camp that had closed down, and I figured it's probably still. And I started doing research, and it's like, you pull up, you go to some map and you find the property itself, and then you trace it back to who used to own the property. And then you find some environmental study that's done, and there's a name of a person who was the
Yeah.
engineer, and then you call them and they say, well, I was through this attorney. You call the attorney and says, oh, that's the old family's whatever.
Yeah.
And I did eventually find the whole story, and the bank that held the note, and then the guy that eventually bought it, because I contacted him and say, how did you know about me? I'm like, well, I did, and I found the mortgage, and the mortgage led me to the deed, and then it led me to an LLC, and I looked up the LLC, and I found your name signed in the LLC. He's like, wow. But there's a lot of stuff, especially online nowadays, that you can do to investigate and kind of dig through it. But sometimes sometimes it's difficult.
It
But you
is.
did
It
the
is.
old fashioned way. That was good.
It kind of makes it fun, but yeah, no, it's to your point. I mean, yeah, we mailed, we called, we looked up every LLC that was on it. Like it's fun. And then it kind of makes for a good story too. Cause I feel like each property that you get, or like for us, like each property we get, it's like there is such like a story behind it. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
there's a
not,
history.
it's a home. It's someone's,
Right.
it's someone's
You may
lives.
grew
And
up there at one point, right?
yeah, yeah. And so it's fun to be able to kind of keep that going in a different way, or, like keep that alive. I mean, even like our property in Chatham. So the homeowner had passed away. We're actually really good friends with the neighbor now. And she was really good friends with the homeowner. She needed a new front door. And so like I'm like, what do you want in this house that would like make you happy? Like
Good,
what
because you
would
were renovating the whole house. So
yeah, we were renovating the whole house, and we're like, we're gonna try to preserve as much as we possibly can. We are very big on that. And we even like the hardwood floors were beautiful, but we knew that we couldn't keep them because we were renovating the whole house. But we ripped up the hardwood floors and we actually put them in my mom's bedroom because they're
really,
beautiful. Yeah, they're beautiful. They're gorgeous.
yeah,
Um, my mom, like I was saying, how she's like a really good decorator. She collects like doors, and she puts them on like a mantle, like over the
yeah,
fire.
sure. They make fire. I've seen that stuff. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, and so we took some of the doors were so beautiful. It was like, it's an old house. It has such beautiful charm. We took one of the doors, one of them's the top of the mantle. Like any of the flowers that were going to get ruined, we took out, we put them in a different garden. Like, we really do try to preserve as much as we possibly can. Or like we really even like sometimes we'll either sell for like a really low price or just post on like Facebook Marketplace. Like there's this really, really cool old stove that was like antique and people like love it because like they collect those. Like I
Yeah.
don't want to throw everything in the dumpster just because like that's what you do as an investor. You go in and it's not, I'd rather take that time and do the extra work so that somebody else can continue these memories with
Yeah, and
these
it's good to
pieces. Like it's
recycle stuff. I lived in a
time.
house that was
Yeah.
built in 1908. It eventually got torn down because it hadn't been cared for in a long time. We couldn't do it.
Yep.
I mean, it was like you could do it, but it wasn't going to be a good investment to do it because
Yeah.
you would have run into all kinds of problems. But when we finally had a garage sale and I got a guy who bought it who was looking for land, he tore the house down, unfortunately. But we had somebody buy the doors. We had somebody buy all the
Yeah.
mortise and tenon joints that were on the locks because you couldn't get this stuff
Yep.
anymore. Somebody bought all those,
Yeah.
the hinges off the doors. It had to be probably sandblasted or whatever, but you couldn't get any of this stuff, in terms of the quality of it. And there was brass all in the house that could be rebrassed. And, somebody bought it. I don't know what they did with it. They probably
They
put it
don't
in their
make it the
house.
same way anymore. And
No.
yeah, I mean, for our Chatham house, so we took the front door. I mean, we weren't going to keep the front door. The size was changing, but the size worked perfectly for our neighbor who we're friends with
Oh,
now. And
that's
she's,
nice.
yeah, so we gave her the door and now she had it like refinished. It looks beautiful. Like it's perfect on our house. And for her too, I mean, she was really good friends with the owner of the house that we have. And, she's no longer with us. And so for her, it's also like a memory of her friend that she grew up with. And
Yeah.
so it's just a nice little piece that, we do try to do for most of our projects because it's people. Like you're in a people industry. It's not just transactions. Like you
Right.
gotta understand who people are. And that's like a big thing that we try to do. Like when we're trying to purchase a house, like it's like, what is the story? What is your story right now? What's the situation you're in? How can I help you make this the easiest transaction you could possibly do?
Right.
And like, does it work to our benefit? I try like sometimes, I guess sometimes like I look at it too and I'm like, are we doing the right thing? Like we're putting all this extra money on the line or we're offering, I mean, I've offered people that don't know where they're going to live. I've offered to put their stuff in a pod and pay for a pod for a couple months. Like I've offered to help people move. I've offered like, I mean, we offer a lot of things that probably aren't your typical
Right.
but I mean, I care about people, and that is one of the reasons that we got into this industry, and we're like, how can we help other people? And what makes it easiest for you? Like, what is your situation right now, and how can we help you? And so, most of the properties were like, take what you want, leave what you don't want. I mean, I'm sure all of these stuff, but like, leave whatever furniture, leave what I don't care what you leave in the house, just leave whatever makes your life easier, and we'll
Right.
figure it out. Like,
Right.
I'm
Well, and
not
you're
worried.
buying properties that need work. These are
Yeah.
people that can't afford to do it. Maybe they're leaving for some other reason, but a lot of times it's they can't afford it. So with you helping
Exactly.
them, it makes it easier as opposed to somebody just coming in and say, "Here, this is what I'm going to offer you. If you take it or leave it, get that stuff out of
Exactly.
the house. I don't want to be bothered with it." Then they
Exactly.
don't feel good about what's happening, because a lot of it's emotional.
Yeah. Yeah. And it is, you're dealing with emotions. You're dealing with somebody who's had maybe like their whole life here, maybe like their parents passed away recently. You don't know unless you ask what somebody else is going through. But then once you really figure out who that person is and what they need and how you can help them, that really is how we win most of our deals because we care.
Right.
And that's who we are.
Just
And
Divine Properties, a
yeah,
business with a heart.
yeah,
There you
thanks.
go.
But we care about people. And also like we have contracts that our contractors have to do whatever repairs on the house within a year after selling it. But we also tell the homeowner, here's our number. You call us if something needs to be like touched up, if you need something, like we'll do it because like we built this. This is who we are and
Right.
I'd never want you to struggle with something because something was done wrong, which I mean, I would like that's my integrity. Like I would never
Right.
want that. And so, I mean, for example, like we built like a house and the paint settled and there was like some cracks. I mean, it's normal. It's a brand new
Right.
house.
Of course it happens. Yeah.
Like, but someone like they mentioned it to us and we're like, hey, we'll fix it. And they're like, really? We're like, yeah, we'll fix it. Like, I mean, the paint settled. Like, It's not like we did anything wrong. Nothing was
No, you don't have to. I mean, it's just
no.
normal time, world settles.
Yeah, but I
Happens
was like,
anyway,
"No,
so.
that's like our integrity. That's who we are." Like, I don't so what? It's a few extra bucks out of our pocket. I don't care. We made you a home that or we made you a house that you're building into a home. Like that, it matters to us.
Well, I think a lot of that goes very far too. I mean, you don't do it just from a marketing standpoint. You do it because that's who you are and you care and you have a good heart and whatever. But I think in the end, it serves your business well too, because it's better for people to think of you like, yeah, well, what happened? Well, did they fix that? Yeah, they did. They came back and fixed it. She tells me she fixed anything. Really? Well, my builder doesn't call me back. And
Yeah,
that's a lot of these guys are in and out and then boom, 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 they go to the next job and they're just looking to make a
yeah,
buck and squeeze as much as they can out of it. And then you can't get them on the phone at the end. Sometimes
yeah,
I've had situations where builders just disappear. They're still owed a couple of grand, but they're so Peter to pay Paul, from Peter to Paul, left and right. And then they just go on to the next project and they forget about it. And I've had stuff literally that wasn't finished that we had to finish and owed him money and he never came back for the money or finishing it. So I don't know if it cost me more or less, but it was like he just moved on to the next project.
yeah. I mean, I get it. I do. I get it. And you're caught up like in the business, but I just think like that's just not how I was raised, and that like
You got to
I
finish the job.
yeah, and
Even
I
if
just
it's, even if it's punch list stuff and it's just the way it is, you got to do it because you want to be,
yeah,
I mean, I guess you also want to have it finished. Like we did it.
yeah.
Some people just looking for the next check. They get another $50,000
I
deposit, then
know.
move over to the next one.
I mean, it's a good problem to have, and I do. I care deeply, and that is like something that like will keep me up at night. Like I do care deeply about all the people that surround us, and I mean, I'm like both of us. Like we're the ones that show up at the job site with a huge thing of donuts or lunch for the day or something else. Like, is it like we're supposed to be making money off of this deal? But at the same time, like it's like I care about the people that are working for us. Like they're taking times out of their days. I mean, yeah, it's their job, but at the same time they're people, like, we're all people and, like, we're all in this together, and so
Right. Well, and if they have other jobs that they got to do and they got to choose, they'll choose you
yeah,
because you treat them well.
exactly,
So
and
do
we're
you have
friends
any,
with all of them too now, like, they're
I'm
like
sure,
family
keeps
too,
them
like, we
busy,
show up
right?
and they're like, "Hey," like,
Right.
it's fun, and so it's good, and it makes for, like we recently brought on 2 new people to our business, and so it makes for, like, a fun environment, and it also helps us then show who we are and how we can kind of portray that onto other people, and then they're excited to talk about our business and how they work for us and what they do for us, and it's just like it's fun. That's exactly what we wanted as starting a business.
Yeah, that's what so you just answered my question, but so you have two full-time employees now,
We do have so they are both part-time, but we do have 2 part-time employees. One is,
but they're like office
one
people. They're not on the job.
no, so we actually hired one, he is doing more of the construction, so he shows up on the projects. He
So he's like
actually
a
helps.
foreman, basically. He's your foreman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's actually so he needed a college internship and just with the times and everything, so we actually brought him on as our intern, and
Okay.
he's great. So he goes to appointments when we need him to. He gives us a lot of his time. He has a truck, which is great because then he's like hauling stuff for us. He's actually helped like our contractor out. He's really interested in the construction space. So he's we've just texted our contractor being like, "Hey, our intern is going to show up today. Teach him." And I love our contractor that way because he really is. I've never really seen him get mad. Like he's so chill, which is not normal for a
Right.
contractor.
Probably not. No.
Yeah, he's so chill and he just really is such a nice guy. And he's taught us so much about construction too, because that's not my background. I don't know much about it. And so same, like, he's teaching this guy who knows what it'll bring for him. But so it's cool too because he's helped in that way. And then we have somebody else who I call our project manager, and she helps a lot with like the back end stuff of like the utilities, making sure things are in line. She does a lot with the design stuff too, and like sourcing different stuff. Like I'll give her ideas of what I'm
Oh,
looking for, but to help me source different things of where I can get like what I'm looking for like a good price and what's in stock. And especially with COVID right now, everything is behind.
Right. Hard to get.
And like a better way to put it, and
The
hard to
supply
get.
chains
And
got disrupted, you know?
exactly, exactly. And so
Yeah.
it's she helps a lot with like more of like the research, and she'll go to like lighting stores for me, or she'll go different places. And they've both been like a blessing to have on the team, and it's fun to have like a team now. It's cuz it's always just been Justin and myself, and so it's fun to expand and have other people working with us too.
Yeah. Have you found it difficult? Because I know with when you're dealing in real estate, you got to deal with municipalities, you got to deal with the government. There's licensing, there's issues, especially when you start working with homeowners. Then you're dealing with New Jersey consumer fraud is a ridiculous statute. You're
Yeah.
going to be liable for treble damages, attorney's fees, court costs, the whole thing. And there
Yep.
are, I know you find this hard to believe, but unscrupulous attorneys out there that are like trolling for
Yeah.
homeowners that say, oh yeah, they didn't do it so great. Oh, we can sue the crap out of them,
Yep.
have you found that to be, difficult? Because I find a lot of people I meet, they don't even realize. They're like, oh, really? I need to do that? And they
Yeah.
don't.
I mean, I think this goes kind of back to what we were just talking about. Like I'm honest almost to a fault. Like even calling them like the municipality. Like if when we get a house and I'm trying to figure out like what we can or can't do, I'm like, here, this is my idea. Like I'm never gonna hold it back, because I don't want them to then come back later and be like, why did like you couldn't do this? Why you didn't get approval
Right.
on this?
Yeah.
And so like I mean, it's like a joke, but like even like I call and I'm like, hey, do you care if I do this? Like they're like, no, like,
You
and I'm
don't have
like,
to
I'm just
ask
trying.
us for everything.
Honestly, that's what the guy said to me last time. He's like, I appreciate that you call me all the time to make sure like you're good. He's like, "But I obviously you wouldn't be calling me." How did he phrase it? But like, you wouldn't be calling me to ask me these questions if you were trying to get one over on me. And I was like,
Well,
no, that's like
clearly. Right.
exactly. I'm like, I don't want you to come to the property and then be like, well, this, like, why did you do this? Take it down.
Yeah. And
Like,
that's a costly mistake.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And so I will say like we've actually gotten to be closest like with the people at the towns. And I really I respect them. I respect their job, and sometimes it takes a little like let's bring a coffee in today, not during
Oh,
COVID,
because
but
they're going
like
to control whether you get approval, how fast you get approval. I remember we had a kitchen burst, a pipe or something. So we had just redone the kitchen.
yep.
Something happened with the builder. He like boxed in a pipe and he said, you want me to box it in? I didn't know he wouldn't insulate it. I mean, I'm not a builder. So the
Yeah.
thing burst again after we lost the kitchen. We lost the kitchen like
Yeah.
during like one of the hurricanes. Then the thing burst.
Oh,
So then I called the town because I do work in the town, right? In my town. And I know this
yeah.
guy, Steve, and he's the municipal inspector, general inspector. I said, Steve, here, listen, let me tell you what happened. My wife and I, we have no kitchen now. We're like in the living room and whatever. He goes, listen, have the permits on my chair and I'll have you have your preliminaries in 3 days. Now
Yeah.
the builder was not getting that for 2 weeks.
Yep.
They were so backed up. But knowing people and treating people well there's a lot to be said for that because they have the right to do whatever they want to do.
They do. I mean, knowing people, especially in the industry, is everything. And it's, I mean, like I'm friends with like an investor who's renovating a house just around the corner, and she's like, I've been waiting for permits, and I'm like, really? Like, I got
Right,
them a
right.
long time ago. And she's like, how long did it take? I'm like, not even a week. Like, I don't know. Like, it really is. It goes back to like putting your neck on the line, introducing yourself, networking, talking to people. Like I mean, I do spend a lot of my time, and like, some like when I look at it, like, is it beneficial all the time?
Well,
Like,
obviously it is. If the person said they're still waiting for their permits, you got them in a pinch.
yeah. And like it drives like some people crazy, because I'm always the person like, hey, tell me about yourself. Like, who are you? Like, what are you doing? How long have you lived here? Like, I'm just always so intrigued by people that like I don't know, like I spend a lot of my time getting to know people, and it really has benefited us in our business, but I don't do it just to benefit us in our business. Like I do it honestly just because I'm so intrigued by people, and I really
Yeah, you're
like,
genuinely curious.
yeah, like I
Yeah.
just, and it's always like, I think then if you meet somebody and you can connect them to somebody else, like maybe like that's a win-win for them. Like I'm not looking for, I'm not looking for anything out of that. Um, but like, I mean, we've even found like houses that way. Like
Yeah,
I
it's
met
all
the zoning
networking, right?
officer in one of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
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 And like someone would be like, how did you get this house? I'm like, I don't know. I was talking to the zoning officer and he said, oh, call this person. And I'm
Sure.
like,
He knows what's
okay.
going on.
Yeah. And they're like, well, how did you get the house? And I'm like, I don't know. I called the person the zoning officer told me to call, and I just talked to him. Like,
Right.
like it. a lot of it is relationship building.
A lot. Well, especially when you're looking for opportunities that have value in them and equity and, sweat equity and
Yeah.
so on. They're not going to, those things are not going to hit the market through a broker. First of all, if
Yeah.
there's anything good and even it debts to a broker like a large house, it's going to be sold in-house, right?
Yeah.
And you want to get, that's part of, I mean, that's the art of the game, right? The renovation, the
Yeah.
construction, you put a good team together. It's all mechanics at some point, you run a
Yeah.
good ship and so forth. But finding the deal, sourcing the opportunities is always going to be not a skill. It's always going to be an art to
Yeah.
who you meet and how you get in there. What, like you said, that house, you didn't get to buy it. It turns out an investor had it, but if he didn't, and there was some spinster lady that got left it from her great grandmother, and she was in a nursing home, so you probably would have found it and got it, got it done.
Exactly. And it's, and then it's like, being friends with the people. Like I have, the zoning officer, because, towns closed down during COVID, our permits weren't approved beforehand. And I mean, the zoning officer gave me his personal cell and was like, you call me, like, call me if you have questions. Like, I will give you an update. He called me at least once a week and gave me like updates. I mean, the second that they could do anything, like we had a call via Zoom, we were on that call, like, and I so appreciate it because like I always say, like, I wish there was something like I could do for you because like you've done so much for us. It's just it's hard. Sometimes it's hard for me because
But you know what? It doesn't work that way. He does something for you, you do something for someone else, they do something for this person, and then it gets back
it
to them.
does.
You just don't know about it.
I know it's
Like,
true.
that's the way it works.
It is true. But like, and I would never give out his number because I appreciate him giving his number. But like someone will be like, how did you get his number? I'm like, I don't know. He gave me his cell phone number. I
Right.
don't
Oh, will you give it to me? Well, I don't know really if I should.
know.
Right, exactly. Look,
So
there's some towns, Devin, up here that because I do a lot of local builders and stuff. There's some
yep,
towns where they just absolutely won't build in because the zoning official is a nightmare to deal with.
yep,
And they don't, because a lot of zoning officials, if you have a relationship, they'll sit down and say, well, let me tell you, if you do it this way, it's going to have to go to the planning board and you need approval. But if you move this, change this, add this over here, I can approve that. Like
yep,
those are the good ones in the town.
yeah,
They'll work with you because it costs you
exactly.
a fortune. You'll be waiting months and months and months. I mean, I have
Yeah,
one right now. It's a hearing in December for a woman she's not in a rush, but she bought this property with a house on it, and it's basically a double lot. So her plan was the house is off to the right. So her plan was keep the house. I'm going to split the lot. This is going to be my retirement, and I'm going to build a house. And she's done it before. Well, we submitted this like in last fall. And no, was it the fall or got into the spring? It was like in the before COVID, but it was in and working on it. And then the engineer came back and they said, well, if you're going to move this, and it opened up a whole Pandora's box. And now they're moving the driveway and it changed the whole thing. But there was no meetings. So now it's going to be a Zoom meeting December. I actually have to call her right after this to clear up some final issues. But
yeah,
yeah, it's just not. And the woman in the zoning office, very accommodating, she communicates with me via email. The engineer talked to me. I said, listen, this is what she's trying to do. Can we figure out how to do it? And then I found out that the guy who did the survey, he couldn't do drainage. They're like not licensed to do drainage. There was an issue about drainage. And I was like, why? Well, because they have to move the garage. So then we had to get someone else involved, and it's
yep,
cost my client some extra money. But, it definitely having people that you deal with who are like, well, Devin, let me tell you how this is going to be easier for you. And let me tell you how it's going to be harder because you got to deal with 8 people that don't know you in front of a planning board,
yeah,
you know, and you're like, oh, thank you, and it's just might be just a little alteration.
yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, real estate's a fun, but can be trying business. And if you can't kind of go part-time, I think, into real estate.
Yeah,
There's too much to
yeah,
know and learn and be control and get involved with and deal with. And yeah, it's just like that. Those are the bad experiences. The people that say, well, I own this condo and then me and my wife moved out. We bought a house. We kept the condo, renting it out. It was a nightmare. We got fined by the town. That's because you don't know what you're doing.
yeah.
I mean, you had your
It's
friend
hard.
move in without a CO because you didn't think you didn't even
Yeah,
and then it's problematic. Yeah, definitely.
it is.
Definitely.
It
Yeah.
is. It's definitely, and you learn a lot from it. And I feel like they're like, like people always talk about like the rule book of life, like you do this and that. Like there's not a rule book for real estate. Like you don't do, it's like if you do this, but this doesn't work out, then you do that. Like there's like so many subcategories that you have to kind of learn. And a lot of it is just asking questions and surrounding yourself by I always say surround yourself by people that are smarter than you in a room and learn from them too. And so,
Yeah, if you
um,
could always do that, I think that's a good thing. Always keep moving
yeah.
up the ladder. How many projects you guys have going on right now? You said
So when we close on these two in the next few weeks, we'll have five on our plate.
5 left that you're still working on.
Correct.
And is that your goal, like to keep 5 going at any given time, between 5 and 7?
Yeah, I mean, I think like our goal overall is to do 7 projects in a year,
Yeah.
but,
But there's always gonna be an overlap, right? Because you're closing on
exactly,
these and bringing them in. It's not like
exactly.
7 go, the year ends, they're done, and now you go out and find
Yeah,
the other 7. You won't
exactly,
work for 2 years, you know?
exactly. So,
Yeah.
yeah, we have, like, 2 of them we're finishing shortly. We're bringing 2 more on. So they do overlap within, like, a month,
So
but
you
it's
are looking at properties all the time, dealing
always
with the projects that are going on, talking to your
always,
subs, right?
yeah,
Dealing with the town. I mean, it's all going on at all different times of different.
it
So
is.
what is your technique of keeping track of each of the projects? You have a separate like binder for each job, and then you know where you are with those jobs and so forth. What's your
Yeah,
methodology?
it's interesting because, I do feel like I'm a very organized person.
You do. You
Um,
feel you're organized? You're definitely organized.
yeah,
From
thanks.
the way you're telling me, I could you
Um, but it's interesting because now that we have 2 people that work with us too, like, I almost have to get more organized in a different way so that other people can see it too, and so it's more so where can I put the documents that they can view it as well.
right.
Right. So it kinda brings a new layer to it, which is
You
good
guys
for
work
us.
in the cloud? Do you like keep each project in the cloud? Yeah, same
Everything's in
thing.
the cloud. We use, like, different apps for, like, to-do lists, and things
That
that,
you
like, are
can
coming.
share so you know what's
Correct.
going on.
Yep, we have, like, a shared calendar that all 4 of us can view, and it's just, like, what days are inspections, what's happening where, when. We do have, someone that goes to our properties and takes videos and pictures throughout the project to document, the process, so, it's good to share with him too, so he can see, like, "Oh, they're putting siding up today. It's a good day to go take some pictures or videos."
Do you have a YouTube channel?
We don't. I need to create one
Yeah,
actually.
if you're
I
taking
have
all those
one, I don't have
videos and
anything on it.
pictures, yeah, you gotta
Yeah, I do. We put it all on social media, so on Just
okay.
Divine Properties for Instagram and Facebook.
So the videos are on your website.
So they're doing videos as well for the website, yes.
Good.
So we just started working with him. Actually, it's been like a month now, so we have some footage that we need to get out there.
And do you have
um,
your own real estate podcast?
so I don't right now, which I will be working on shortly.
Yeah.
My fiance has the alcoholic entrepreneur, so he talks a lot
Nice.
about his journey, and then also, in sobriety as well as in real estate.
So he talks about the recovery and the whole thing. How
Yep, and he talks a lot
viewing
about
alcohol.
how. Yep, he talks a lot about how being sober and going through that process is a lot of like the same mindset as being an entrepreneur and how they kind of relate together and just relating to a lot of people in business and real estate and in sobriety.
Good for him. Well, I'm sure it's therapeutic
Yeah.
too to do that on a podcast and let
Yeah,
them
for
listen.
sure. It's an amazing, yeah, it's called The
Yeah.
Alcoholic Entrepreneur. So feel free to check it out.
And
Um,
is there a date for your wedding?
uh,
You're engaged. I mean,
we've
he's your
been engaged
fiance.
for so long. I don't know.
You
I
don't
don't know.
have it.
We don't have a date
Miss
right
Party
now.
Planner. You don't have event.
I know. Well, he used to be in the events industry as well.
Yeah.
That's actually how we met. And so both of us were in hospitality. And I think it's funny because both of us like are horrible planners for ourselves, but good for everyone else. Um,
Okay,
so
that's
I don't,
probably true for a lot of people.
yeah, we don't have a date right now. We've been engaged for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years at this point.
Okay.
We got engaged after 9 months of dating. So
Okay.
it's there, just haven't
And it's still
declared.
there, so that's good.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not like you can have a big wedding right now anyway. So make your
I
money,
know.
do your stuff. Corona past couple of years, and you can have a real wedding as opposed to all these people that are
Exactly.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you spending all this time with me and talking. And it was nice. We met through originally PodMax Global, right? The
Yes.
Global Podcast Summit, which people
Yes.
should look into if they want to
Absolutely.
guest and stuff. And then we were on what's the show with Eric and
On Air
Josh?
Brands Live.
Oh, right, on Air Brands. I introduced Eric to a couple of people I thought would be good guests
Oh, awesome. We
for
love
on Air
that. We love
Brands.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been an honor working with those guys and and being a co-host on that show and really diving into the podcasting world.
So
So
how
it's
did you get hooked up with them for?
one of my good friends who I was in event planning with for my corporate job, when we left the corporate world, she moved down to Tennessee to work for real estate investors. And somehow or another, they weren't able to take a call that one day. And that call was with Eric. And so Eric was a needed event person. And she was like, oh, well, I live in Tennessee. And he's like, well, do you know anybody else? And he wasn't really looking, but like he just liked talking to my friend. And my friend was like, oh, I don't think that my best friend is gonna get it. She just got out of her corporate job, but you can try. And
Right.
so I really liked him and I liked his energy. And so I work for him part-time.
Oh, so that's how it came about.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I do the events portion for Podmax part-time.
Again, it's networking.
Exactly.
He
It's
networked
been
with
a great
her.
experience. I don't know if we would have met if it wasn't
Right.
for them.
Probably
So
wouldn't have, because I
um,
got introduced by Kieran to Josh and Eric, and then I came on
yeah,
Podmax, and then I feel bad. I don't even have the episodes from my first time out yet. I mean, I have so many episodes recorded. I release 2 a week. Sometimes I squeeze in a third,
yeah.
and I still have the first one
I know
from
I
the
get your
summer.
emails. I love them. Yeah.
This week I have 3 because I have who's on Wednesday? Esar,
Oh, yeah.
we did a
Or
collaborative episode and it's coming out Wednesday. So I'm doing Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday this week just
yeah.
to try and get ahead. And I
Busy.
hired a woman from the Philippines to do my editing. So she's just starting
Oh
to
my
do
god.
that. But I'm literally like, I think, this will come out in March unless you tell
Yeah.
me you need it earlier. So,
No, good.
yeah. But I'm like, I can't do
I'm
another
excited.
Podmax event because I'm now gonna be 3 behind. I got one coming out in
Yeah.
December, the next one hopefully in February. So it's, yeah. And I do those, like all 3 interviews, I do the same day. I don't like spread them out. So, but
Yeah.
still, so I doubled up. I used to do 1 a week, then I went to
Yeah.
2 a week. I was still, because I get a lot of calls. I'm going to start doing recording like Fridays only.
That makes sense.
That's
It's
what I'm
probably
doing.
going to be beneficial for you too, just to like get your brain like in recording mode and then not have to deal with it too, because
Correct.
you have
And I'm
to.
recording too many of them. That's one of the problems.
Yeah.
So
You have to turn it
today I
on
have
and off.
3, I think.
Oh, geez.
I have one at
Well, I'm
11
honored
and
to
one
be
at
like the
3.
beginning of the day.
I appreciate it. Let me turn off the mic. I'm going to fade it out a ways back.